They used to look at me like I was nothing. Not in an angry way, not even in a cruel way. Just in that quiet, effortless way people look at something that doesn't matter. Like a chair in the corner of a room. Like a shadow on the wall. Like a man who doesn't belong anywhere important. I lived in a small rented room above a grocery store on a street most people never noticed. The paint on the walls was old and cracked. The window faced a brick wall. And the only sounds I heard at night were delivery trucks, stray cats, and the distant noise of a city that never cared about me. My bed was thin, my fan was loud, and my mornings began with cheap tea and stale bread. But I was used to it. You get used to being invisible when no one ever expects anything from you. The world measures people in numbers, how much they earn, what they own, who they know, where they live. And by those measures, I was a failure. No car, no house, no title, no impressive job. Just another man trying to survive quietly. But what people never saw was what I carried inside me. A secret. A truth that didn't fit my appearance. A truth that would never leave me alone. Years ago, I wasn't always this man. There was a time when I dreamed. There was a time when I loved. There was a time when someone looked at me the way the world never did. Her name was Sophia. Back then, she wasn't a billionaire. She wasn't famous. She wasn't powerful. She was just a woman with sharp eyes, a brilliant mind, and a fire inside her that could light up any room she walked into. She was ambitious. She was fearless. She wanted everything from life. And somehow, she chose me. We met in a small cafe that no longer exists. She was working on a business idea on her laptop, frustrated and tired. I offered to help her with something simple, and she laughed. That laugh stayed with me for years. We talked. We walked. We shared dreams. She wanted the world. I wanted peace. Somewhere between those two things, we found love. But love doesn't survive well in a world obsessed with status. As her success grew, so did the distance between us. She moved into better places, met more important people, entered rooms I could never enter, and slowly, quietly, I became something she was embarrassed by. Not because I was bad, but because I was small. And she told me she was pregnant. And for the first time in my life, I felt powerful. Not in money, not in status, but in purpose. I wanted to be a father. I wanted to build something real. But Sophia saw it differently. She saw risk. She saw damage to her image. She saw a poor man tying her to a life she was trying to escape. She said we would talk about it. She said we would decide together. Then one day, she disappeared. Her number stopped working. Her apartment was empty. Her emails bounced back. And months later, I saw her on a magazine cover. Successful, glowing, untouchable, and pregnant. But not with me beside her. She never told our daughter who I was. She never told the world I existed. And I didn't fight. Not because I didn't care, but because I felt small in front of her power. I felt like a mistake trying to argue with destiny. So I stepped back, and I watched. From a distance. From the shadows. I watched my daughter grow up without me. I watched her first steps on a screen. Her first day of school in a photo. Her birthdays through headlines. Her life through a glass wall I was never allowed to touch. And every time the world looked at me and saw nothing, I looked at her and saw everything. That was my secret. That was my wealth. A daughter who didn't know me. A love that had no place to go. A heart that had no permission to speak. People think being poor means having no money. But real poverty is having love and being unable to give it. Real poverty is having a child and being unable to hold her. Real poverty is being alive, but not being allowed to live. So I stayed quiet. I stayed invisible. I stayed small. Because sometimes being unseen is the only way to survive. But even the quietest lives carry the loudest truths. And mine was waiting for the day it would no longer stay silent. Her name was Lily. I had never heard her say it out loud, but I knew it anyway. I knew it because her name was written under every photograph, every article, every carefully edited piece of her life that appeared online or in magazines. Lily Hartman, daughter of billionaire entrepreneur Sophia Hartman. The world said her name with pride, with admiration, with envy. I said her name in silence. I said it the way people say prayers. Softly, carefully, as if the sound itself could break something fragile. Lily was growing up in a world that looked like a dream. Huge houses with white walls and glass windows. Gardens that looked like parks. Private schools with uniforms that cost more than my monthly rent. Cars with drivers. Security guards. Teachers who specialized in making geniuses. Doctors who never made you wait. From the outside, her life looked perfect. But I noticed things other people didn't. Her smile never reached her eyes. In every photo, she stood straight. Perfect posture. Perfect clothes. Perfect hair. Perfect background. But her eyes always looked a little tired. A little distant. Like she was playing a role she never chose. Children are honest in ways adults forget how to be. They can hide pain with toys and laughter, but their eyes still tell the truth. And Lily's eyes told a story no one else wanted to read. A story of loneliness. A story of pressure. A story of a child surrounded by people, but missing something she couldn't name. I followed her life from a distance. Not like a stalker, like a ghost. I checked school websites when new students were announced. I read interviews when Sophia talked about balancing motherhood and business. I watched charity event videos just to see Lily walk behind her mother like a shadow in an expensive dress. I told myself I was just curious. But the truth was, she was the only part of my life that felt alive. Everything else was routine. Work, sleep, repeat. But Lily was my reminder that I had once mattered to someone, even if she didn't know it. Then one day, the distance disappeared. Not slowly, not gently. Suddenly, I was doing a delivery job at a luxury hotel downtown. It was one of those buildings where the floor shines like a mirror and the air smells expensive. I didn't belong there. I knew it. Everyone around me knew it. I was just another worker in a uniform. Invisible again. There was a charity event happening that day. Elegant people. Cameras. Soft music. Quiet laughter. And then I saw her, standing alone near a large window. Lily. She was taller than I imagined. Thinner. More grown. She wore a simple light-colored dress that somehow looked more expensive than anything I had ever owned. She wasn't talking to anyone. She wasn't laughing. She was scrolling on her phone like she was trying to escape the room without moving. I froze. My heart did something strange. Not pain. Not fear. Recognition. Like my soul recognized her before my mind could catch up. I watched her for a moment too long. And then something happened. Her phone slipped from her hand. It slid across the floor and stopped near my feet. I picked it up, walked over, held it out to her. Our eyes met. And time changed. She stared at me, not in a polite way, not in a curious way, in a shocked way, as if she had seen something impossible. Her breath caught. She didn't take the phone. She just looked at me. Then she whispered, "Why do you look like me?" The question hit me like a wave. I didn't know what to say. No one had ever asked me anything so dangerous, so close to the truth. I smiled. That was all I could do. I handed her the phone. She took it slowly, her fingers brushing mine. And then she walked away. But she didn't stop looking back. And I didn't stop watching her. That night, I couldn't sleep. Her question echoed in my head. Why do you look like me? Because I'm your father. Because you carry my face in yours. Because half of you was built from me. But I couldn't say any of that. Instead, I lay in my small room staring at the ceiling, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. A few days later, something unexpected happened. Someone knocked on my door. No one ever knocked on my door. It was Lily, standing there with a backpack on her shoulder and a question in her eyes. "I found you," she said. I didn't ask how. I didn't need to. She looked around my room. The old furniture, the cracked walls, the single window, the simple life. She didn't judge. She didn't smile. She didn't comment. She just stood there, absorbing it. Then she looked at me again. "Are you my father?" she asked. Her voice wasn't dramatic. It was steady, brave, ready for the truth. And in that moment, I realized something. The secret I had carried for years was no longer only mine. And once a truth is shared, it can never be buried again. I didn't answer her immediately, not because I didn't know the answer, but because I'd been preparing myself for this moment for years, and somehow, I was still not ready. She stood there in the doorway of my small room, waiting. Not demanding, not emotional, just open, honest. And that made everything harder. I nodded. Just once. Yes. Her face changed in a way I will never forget. Not shock, not anger, relief, like a puzzle piece finally clicking into place. Her shoulders dropped. Her breath slowed. Her eyes filled with something that wasn't tears yet, but could easily become them. So I'm not crazy, she whispered. I always felt like something was missing. She stepped inside. She closed the door behind her, and suddenly my tiny room felt like the center of the universe. She sat on the edge of my bed. I sat across from her on the old chair. We stared at each other like strangers who somehow knew each other better than anyone else. My mother said my father abandoned us, she said softly. The words didn't hurt the way I expected them to. They felt heavy, like something that needed to be set down. I never left you, I replied. I was never allowed to stay. She swallowed. What does that mean? So I told her, not dramatically, not angrily, just truthfully, about the cafe, about the early days, about the pregnancy, about the disappearance, about the magazine cover, about the silence, about the years of watching her grow up through a screen. She listened without interrupting, without judging, without taking sides. When I finished, the room was quiet. She looked at her hands. Then she asked, "Did you want me?" I didn't hesitate. "Yes," I said. "More than anything." That's when she cried. Not loud, not messy, just quiet tears sliding down her face. She didn't wipe them away. She let them fall like there was something her body had been holding back for a long time. I didn't move. I didn't touch her. I waited. Because sometimes the most loving thing you can do is give someone space to feel. When she looked up again, her eyes were red but clear. She stood. She walked over. And she hugged me. Not gently. Not politely. Tightly. Like she was afraid I might disappear if she didn't hold on hard enough. And in that moment, everything I had lost suddenly returned. Not in time. Not in memories. But in presence. She stayed for hours. We talked about everything and nothing. Her school, her friends, her dreams, my work, my life, my loneliness. We laughed at how similar our tastes were. The same kind of music, the same dislike for loud places, the same habit of overthinking. It felt unnatural and natural at the same time. Like meeting someone new and remembering someone old. Before she left, she said, "Can I come back?" "Yes," I said. She smiled. That smile reached her eyes. After that, she came often. Sometimes just to sit. Sometimes to talk. Sometimes to do homework in silence while I worked nearby. She didn't need entertainment. She needed peace. And I gave her what I had. Time. Attention. Listening. No cameras. No expectations. No image to protect. Just a man and his daughter learning how to exist together. But secrets don't like being shared. They create ripples. And ripples create waves. Her mother noticed. Lily started declining events. Leaving parties early. Skipping trips. Spending time in a part of the city Sophia never visited. Sophia asked questions. Lily avoided answers. Until one day, she didn't. She told her everything. About me. About the room. About the truth. About the lie. Sophia didn't cry. She didn't shout. She didn't beg. She did something far more dangerous. She tried to take control. Lawyers called me. Warnings arrived. Accusations floated in the air. That I was influencing Lily. That I was confusing her. That I was seeking money. That I was seeking attention. That I was seeking revenge. None of it was true. But truth is not always what wins. Power is. And Sophia had power. But Lily had something else. Choice. And she used it. She stood in front of her mother and said, "I want him in my life." Not loudly. Not angrily. Firmly. Sophia came to see me after that. Not as a lover. Not as a friend. As a force. She stood in my room like it offended her. "This is what you can offer her?" she asked. I looked around. At my cracked walls. My old chair. My simple life. Then I looked at Lily. standing behind her, watching me, hoping, trusting. And I said, "This is what I am." Silence filled the room. Then Lily stepped forward. She took my hand, and she said the words that changed everything. "I choose him. Not instead of her mother. Not against her mother. For herself." And in that moment, the world shifted. Not loudly, not visibly, but deeply, because a child chose truth over comfort, presence over power, love over luxury, and nothing would ever be the same again. After Lily said she chose me, nothing felt stable anymore. Not my job, not my room, not even my thoughts. It was like the ground beneath my life had quietly shifted, and I was standing on something new without knowing if it would hold my weight. Sophia didn't speak to me again right away. She didn't need to. Her world spoke for her. Emails from lawyers, formal letters, polite threats written in professional language. Words like custody, psychological influence, best interest of the child, and legal action started appearing in my life like dark clouds. I had no money for lawyers, no power, no influence, just truth and love. And those two things are rarely enough in court. But Lily didn't retreat. She didn't panic. She didn't get scared. She became calm, strong in a way only someone who has finally found clarity can be. She kept coming. She kept choosing me. She kept showing up. And every time she walked into my room, it felt like she was reminding the universe that this connection was real, no matter how uncomfortable it made people. Sophia tried different strategies. At first, she tried kindness. She invited Lily to luxury trips, bought her new things, promised more time together. It didn't work. Then she tried guilt. "I sacrificed everything for you. Do you know how hard I worked for this life?" It didn't work. Then she tried fear. "You don't know who he really is. You're risking your future." It didn't work. Because fear only works when people don't understand themselves. And Lily finally did. She told me once, she's afraid of losing me. "She's afraid of losing control," I replied. Lily nodded. "Both," she said. Sophia came to see me again. This time without anger, without pride, without power. She looked tired, older, smaller than I remembered. She sat on my old chair, not like a queen, like a mother. "I don't hate you," she said. "I know," I replied. She looked at the floor. "I was afraid," she admitted, "of being trapped, of being judged, of being small." I listened. "I didn't think I was taking something from you," she said. "I thought I was protecting her." I stayed silent, because sometimes people need to hear themselves before they can hear others. "She loves you," Sophia said quietly. "I know." That was a moment the fight changed shape. It was no longer about power. It was about loss. Sophia wasn't fighting me. She was fighting the idea that she wasn't enough. And Lily wasn't choosing me over her. She was choosing truth over illusion. Sophia asked, "What do you want?" I thought carefully. "I want Lily to be free," I said. "Free from lies. Free from roles. Free from being owned by expectations." Sophia closed her eyes. "I built my whole life on control," she whispered. "I don't know how to live without it." I understood that more than she knew, because I had built my life on absence, on letting go, on being invisible. We were both broken in opposite directions, and Lily was standing in the middle, trying to make sense of two incomplete adults. The world didn't make it easier. The media found out. Someone leaked something. A photo, a story, a headline. "Billionaire's daughter chooses poor father." People loved the drama. They turned our lives into entertainment. Comments appeared. Opinions exploded. Some called me a hero. Some called me a manipulator. Some called Lily ungrateful. Some called Sophia heartless. Everyone had something to say. No one really knew anything. Lily stopped reading. She didn't want strangers defining her story. She wanted to live it. She asked me once, "Why do people care so much?" "Because stories make them feel something," I said. "And this one makes them uncomfortable." She nodded. "Good," she said. "Maybe they should be." Sophia started losing control publicly too. Sponsors questioned her image. Investors worried about her emotional stability. She had built her empire on strength. Now the world saw her vulnerability. And the world is not kind to vulnerable women in power. She didn't blame Lily. She blamed herself. She apologized. Not to me. To Lily. For lying. For hiding. For controlling. For choosing image over truth. Lily listened. She forgave her. Not because she forgot the pain, but because she didn't want to carry it. And that was when something changed. Not in headlines. Not in courts. But in hearts. Sophia stopped fighting. She stopped trying to win. She started trying to understand. We didn't become friends. We didn't become family. We became respectful, careful, aware. Lily started spending time with both of us. Separately. Sometimes together. Learning that love doesn't have to be exclusive to be real. That you don't have to erase one truth to accept another. That life can hold contradictions without breaking. And I learned something too. That being chosen is not about defeating someone else. It's about being honest enough that someone can see you clearly and choose you freely. And that kind of choice is heavier than power, stronger than money, and rarer than anything else in this world. After the noise faded, after the headlines stopped updating, after the strangers moved on to their next story, what remained was quiet. Not empty quiet, full quiet. The kind of quiet that comes after a storm when the air feels different and the world looks like it has been washed clean. That was the quiet we lived in. Lily started coming over not because she was escaping something, but because she was returning to something. She didn't look over her shoulder anymore when she walked into my room. She didn't whisper. She didn't rush. She belonged. And watching her feel that belonging changed me. I had spent so many years making myself small, believing that invisibility was safety, that I forgot how much space a human heart actually needs. Lily reminded me, by laughing too loudly, by leaving her books everywhere, by asking endless questions, by being alive in a way I had forgotten how to be. She started calling me Dad. Not at first, not suddenly. It slipped out one day when she was distracted, and then she froze like she had said something dangerous. I didn't react. I didn't want to scare the word away. Later she said it again, on purpose, and that word rebuilt something inside me I didn't know was still broken. Sophia changed too, not into someone softer, into someone braver. She stopped hiding behind perfection. She spoke publicly about mistakes, about fear, about control, about choosing ambition over connection. People didn't know how to handle that. Some admired her honesty. Some judged her weakness. She accepted both. Because when you stop living for approval, judgment loses its power. She and I found a strange peace. Not friendship, not love, understanding. We spoke rarely. But when we did, there was no bitterness. Only history, and responsibility, and shared care for the same human being. Lily, the world still tried to define us. Still tried to label. The poor father, the powerful mother, the confused daughter. But those labels slowly lost their meaning inside our lives. Because real life is not a headline. It's not a story. It's not an argument. It's a series of quiet moments no one sees. Breakfast together. Late-night conversations. Shared silence. Forgiveness without witnesses. Healing without applause. Lily once asked me, "Do you wish things had been different?" I thought about that for a long time. If things were different, I said, we might not be here. She nodded. She understood. Because pain, while cruel, is also a path. Not a good one. Not a fair one. But sometimes the only one that leads to truth. People still ask me how it feels to be chosen over a billionaire. I never know how to answer that. Because I wasn't chosen over her. I was chosen with her. Lily didn't remove one love to accept another. She expanded her heart. And that is not victory. That is growth. The world loves conflict. Winners and losers. Heroes and villains. But life is rarely that simple. Most of the time, it's just people trying to love each other without hurting too much along the way. And failing. And trying again. If there is a lesson in our story, it's not about money. It's not about power. It's not about choosing one parent over another. It's about the cost of silence. About what happens when truth is hidden. About how long a heart can wait to be seen. They called me poor, and by every visible measure, I was. But I was never empty. I was full of love with nowhere to go. Until Lily came, and gave it a home. And in that moment, I became something no amount of money could ever buy. I became present. I became needed. I became a father. And that was everything.